Well, welcome to anticipation. Welcome to troll time. Welcome to a much awaited reveal, kind of. Welcome to seeing this much of a person for more of that person's body. No, that's not what you'll get there, but you'll get longer versions of every episode as well as bonus episodes, fun content. Check out the Patreon. My name is Ashley Clements.
My name is Kate Rorick, and these are the Lookback Diaries.
Looking back at me, at us. It's something we made together.
Ah, go figure.
So this is, to my recollection, really the first time we started seriously messing with fans in terms of
teasing them?
Yeah, this is when the show just went full troll, and then we embraced that from here on out, I feel like.
This is something that, I will have to take the hit for, because I pitched this to Bernie.
You mean credit? Take
the notion that, you can have Darcy show up and still not see him, and, we'll just cut him off at the neck. So, because our episodes are 5 minutes long. For the next episode 60, where we actually get the Darcy Lizzie proposal, we wanted to devote all 5 minutes to that. We knew that was what it was going to be. That's the emotional arc of that scene. So we had to get up to that moment and then not go forward. So we had to sort of we had to troll. I'm so sorry. We had to troll you guys.
And of course, you are also responsible for the repeat of that exact same troll in episodes 97 and 98.
That's called a callback. That is called a thematic callback. And it's important to have.
But I'm just saying that was also you.
Yes. I mean, it worked the first time, so.
It worked great the first time, and it was very fun to do it to them again. It's funny, you also, you mentioned not seeing his head, as we will shortly see. That also means that the frame of the whole show is different. In fact, here, let's take a look back, and you can see that I have a lot more headroom than
It was a minor adjustment, but on screen it looks major, but we just wanted to make sure that, he shows up, but the audience doesn't see him, because we don't need to see him yet. But you look angry and glamorous.
I look mid-blink, but it's also we had to sort of work in the space so that we could keep the door and everything. I do just remember this whole thing feeling a little bit off. And also, I don't know if I will have already said this at this point, but and I don't know if I must be doing it in this episode so that the continuity would stay. I had to sit differently in episodes with Daniel because he's so much taller than I am.
Did we put you on an apple box and him on
I was on an apple box and he was on the stools that I regularly sat on, is what we did. So we just faked that, because in reality, in order to get his head, and I would be cut off, I'd look silly. So we faked it, because Daniel really is significantly taller than I am.
He's a looming gentleman. He's at least 6'2".
Yeah, I think he's probably right about 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Well, let's watch this thing and see what happens.
Because you are angry.
I think I'm blinking. Oh no, I'm mad. You're right. I'm also mad.
You're mad because you've just been told that that Darcy.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it now. I bought this dress specifically for this episode because the colors
are very
for Halloween, and look how I match the set. And Katie put up these little the bat.
Yeah, and there's an owl back there.
Was the owl always there, or is the owl Halloween? Oh no, the owl is Halloween. Yeah. It's the owl was always there. It's the bat. Wow. I know birds. I know the difference between two birds.
That's an owl on the door. I was talking about the owl over your shoulder, the little white one.
Yes, that is an owl on the door. And I don't know birds. And bats are not birds.
Oh, they're not.
But what is more important here is that Darcy's the worst, and I think we all agree that nobody likes him.
One of the biggest
It's
like
also such a fun. Go ahead.
one of the biggest like retcons that we had to contend with was the fact that there was like 2 or 3 days in between each episode. So what was
Right.
filmed previously, like, and she's ketchup.
Yep.
Charlotte wants in this ketchup. What was filmed previously had to be like we had to make allowances for like, oh, and Jane hasn't seen this yet, so I know that she doesn't know how angry I am.
Yes, there were a lot of sort of odd things that we did
Yes.
like that. I
Mhm.
don't remember why they're condiments, but maybe
Because
it's because
there's
they
a
were
Halloween
available.
costume. Yeah, they're
No, I
condiments because
understand
they're
why they're in
available.
costume.
I think I like wrote them as a salt and pepper shaker or something,
And
like
this was
this was
what
what was
Katie
available
could
to
find,
us.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something so funny about
I
Max
don't
being
know. I
like
feel
this
like we
excited
filmed
and
this.
in a mustard costume.
I feel like we filmed this end of summerish. So and it came out obviously Halloweenish.
Well, we were always about a month ahead, so it would
Yeah,
have
so
been
September.
September, in which case that LA temperature wise feels like end of summer, yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the Halloween store should have been open. Like,
Yeah, they should have been, but also like this may have been in our budget more than,
true,
or
true.
maybe Katie already had these and was like, hey,
Yeah,
here's
hey,
something that's free. Oh, look, we get a spider when the door's open. How
nice.
exciting.
And they left the door open conveniently. Conveniently left.
Conveniently, the door is open.
Let's wonder
But it's
why.
very
Popping up.
smart to set up that Lizzie is so mad at Darcy that she's like already in a fervor. So if he showed up now,
It would be
I would
bad for him.
already be in the middle of a rage. And
Yes.
that
Yeah.
sure would be an interesting coincidence.
Talk yourself into being pissed off. Like you were low rage pissed off for a couple of days, but now that you've got a blog about it, it's just the rage is just rising, and he's coming at a really bad time, guys. Like this was possibly the worst timing on his part.
Really, truly. Also, just so, you know, ironic that Fitz was trying to make me like him and made me hate him.
Yeah, well, Fitz. Oh, Fitz.
Well-meaning, foot and
Mhm.
mouth doesn't have all the information. He doesn't know.
No, I mean, well, he's got information on Jane and Bing, and that was accurate.
But
So
not information that that was my sister and that this story is going to make me hate him.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, that wasn't cool of him. Most guys don't realize that in that situation, the girl that you're talking to is going to be on the girl's side. Like,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least in my head.
Oh!
Hello, suspenders.
And this was one of those, like, I mean, that was such an epic, oh, and the tease even for the next
tease is
episode, you
great.
just,
Oh,
it's
man.
like, you still don't see his head.
And that
Oh,
dress is really cute from the back.
thank you. I was always very conscious of when I was going to have to stand up. And so when I found this dress and had this little like peekaboo thing in the back and it was Halloween colors, I was like, this is the Darcy Day dress. This is
Yeah,
happening.
The fact that your wardrobe was actually your wardrobe, and like you, I mean, did Bernie actually at least give you money to buy dresses and stuff?
No.
Oh,
I mean, no one made me go out and buy things. Like I wanted to add
no, but I
to
mean,
Lizzie's wardrobe. That dress was also not expensive. Like it's made out of like plastic. It's a very
but
low quality dress.
but in a perfect world, like we would have had a wardrobe department.
Yeah, no, that's normal. That's
Yeah.
the normal way that it goes. But in some ways, I mean, like obviously it would have been nice to have a wardrobe department, but in some ways, like it let me think about character in another way, and there
Mhm.
are moments where that's fun. Of course, I wasn't like there. I was very much thinking as a wardrobe person, not as Lizzie going, well, I know that it's going to be Halloween and that I'm going to stand up in this episode. And
But
so
it's also
that's
like you're
obvious.
also like building your character via that
Hmm.
because a lot of it just like this is how the person's going to walk, this is what they're going to be comfortable in, this is how they're going to like present themselves, and that's part of building a character. A lot of it comes from wardrobe and makeup.
And because the wardrobe was done by me and the
Mhm.
makeup was still at this point done by me, for me, and I made that choice myself at the time, there was a lot of overlap in terms of like, you know, sometimes it's really nice when your character kind of looks very different than you. You kind of look in the mirror and go like, wow, this really isn't what I look like. And instead, Lizzie looked like how I was presenting myself at the time, because those were my clothes and my makeup and my hair skills. That's what I knew how to do.
I mean, that's why you were getting spotted on the street. It's like, oh, it's Lizzie Bennett. Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait, you look exactly like the person on the show. It's true. It's true. And of course, we get some of these iconic costume glimpses here. So much character is revealed for Darcy in his torso. Daniel auditioned in those suspenders.
Well, the lucky thing was by the time we were auditioning Darcy cosplay had already occurred, costume theater. So
Indeed.
there was an idea of what to go with. Hipster Darcy was a thing.
Some people showed up in bow ties.
Yeah.
And some people had clearly not watched the show at all.
Yeah.
So it was a real range. But here we have, yes, just this masterful, terrible, cruel tease. And we all had just a field day with it.
I recall there was a bit of a slight explosion that happened on the internet. So when we did that, the Twitters came past and it was all very,
well, and I think
God, oh no, kind of thing.
The reason also that like we kept trolling is because it was so fun.
Well, here's the other thing. Like
the reaction.
This was a time when we were not going to do telling, not showing. We were going to show you, which wasn't often in our capabilities. So it's why we did it very rarely. As time went on, we had a little bit more capability to do it. So we moved offices. We had a little bit more space. But I think that the crisis was, oh my God, they're actually going to show Darcy. They're actually going to show the proposal. It's not going to come via Lizzie after the fact, which was
and it is one of those places where it's like, we will suspend our disbelief all the live long day that they sit down and do this in front of a camera, because we want to see it. We want it. So we're like, fine, that's fine. I buy it, because
it was also really big that like we wanted to make sure that he was consenting to being recorded. Like he knew the camera was there.
Right.
It wasn't like this was a hidden camera video thing.
It's an enjoyable setup and it's an enjoyable episode. I wish that YouTube had the function for me to look at like the oldest comments. It'll let me choose between top comments and newest comments, but I'm like, no, show me what they were saying 10 years ago.
The first comment that comes up, yes, please.
Let's take a look at the comments, but they will not be what I want them to be, because, well, here, thank you, Mischief7 Manager, for remembering, oh God, watching this in real time was excruciating. Miriam24601 says, you haven't fully experienced this episode if you didn't have to freak out for 3 days before finding out what happened. I love that these comments are
the comments that we've been saying.
But they're after the fact, and they're still, like, they're clearly on rewatches, and they're the hipster fans going, no, you don't understand.
You're not a true fan if you didn't see it originally. But yeah, these were 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Yeah.
Best wishes, Baz. Formerly, sincerely, Snape says, okay, but 4 years hasn't lessened the effect. It's Darcy! OMG! And yes, I actually screamed.
Oh.
It's so funny. All the comments are about what it was like live. Cassidy Parker Knight. Oh my goodness. Do you remember when we were all waiting by our computers for this? We watched it the moment it was up, and then we all collectively screamed after months and months of dying to see him. And then all we could talk about until Thursday was whether or not we were ever actually going to see his face. It seems so strange to try to remember a time when we didn't know what Darcy looked like. But yes.
True that.
Oh, that's a nice comment. Blubbery Nuggets 64 says, the majority of these comments are about Darcy for good reason. I mean, even on the fourth viewing, I still squee, but it really strikes me how much happier Charlotte seems, and it's really nice. And just, I love this show. Well, thank you. And we will get into all of the foot-in-mouth
stuff,
things that Darcy says about why he should not care for Lizzie next time in a very exciting episode with a long-awaited guest.
Who is it?
Oh, it's my mom.
Oh, cool. I'm sure she's probably got a lot to say about Mrs. Bennett.
Thank you so much for being here and introducing the beginning of the true trolling of the Lizzie Bennett Diaries.
I am happy to have been the one to bring you William Darcy's torso.
I just know that I became a huge troll, and I think this is when that started as well.
I mean, it's one of my life achievements, to be quite frank. Is Darcy's headless body being presented for you?
That's the quote.
Yeah.
Darcy's headless body. Well, thanks so much for sharing your memories, and hopefully we'll see you again on the Look Back Diaries.
Thank you, Ashley.